This is the Movie Geeks Film News Podcast Network. And you are watching...
Oh, really? Okay.
Hey everyone, it's Mark from mgfn.co.uk and this is episode 3 of the Kessel Run TubeCast, my random Star Wars musings from my commute to work. What better way to celebrate episode 3 of a podcast than to talk about episode 3 of the Star Wars franchise, Revenge of the Sith. I only just realised, or it was pointed out to me a couple of days ago, that this is the 10th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. Cannot believe where that time's gone. I still remember the first time I saw that film like it was yesterday. But I thought it might be a good idea to celebrate 10 years to list 10 moments from Revenge of the Sith that I would probably say are my favourite aspects of the film. In reverse order, number 10, I've got General Grievous. I'm not a massive fan of the character, but it is kind of a nice nod to the origins of Darth Vader. You've got this white, armoured, cyborg character. Somebody that was physically diminished by something. I know they go into it in the expanded universe. Somebody trying to modify himself in some way, but I thought the character was pretty interesting. I like the way it was voiced by Matt Wood, sound designer, sort of Padawan learner to Ben Burt, if you like. Yeah, not a bad character at all. Added some interesting effects to the fight scenes, especially when he goes up against Obi-Wan Kenobi with the 4 lightsabers. I've used that scene to calibrate home theatre installations on a number of occasions. It's pretty stunning. So that's point number 10, General Grievous. Point 9, the birth of Luke and Leia. So coming like right at the end of the movie, as you would expect, handing off nicely to the original movies, seeing those twins born, the tragedy of the loss of Padme at the same time as these kids came into the world. Their birth is in perfect synchronisation on screen, at least, with the birth of Darth Vader as he gets locked in to his suit and takes his final breath. Those kids come in kicking and screaming, taking their first breaths. Nice bit of poetry. I think George hit that perfectly. Point number 8. Sticking to the theme of kids, but from the different side of the coin, Anakin slaughtering all the younglings. Bloody hell. That really added a bit of weight, didn't it? That was a bold move, I think, to send Anakin in there and start his Jedi purge with the smallest offerings. And that little boy they got to play that role, I don't know who he was, asked what to do, and he had his little lightsaber. He was the first one, presumably, to buy it. Stunning. I really like that element. Oh, a little side note as well. One of the Jedi that come out, the one that comes out as Bail Organa is making his escape. That's Jet Lucas, George Lucas's son, in a little cameo there. It's quite interesting. Right, point number 7. Lord Vader gets his name. We were led to believe that there would be the whole Lord Vader Rise thing, if you believe the trailer. Shows you how creatively edited that trailer was. But when Anakin is christened Darth Vader by Palpatine just after he takes out Mace Windu, we get to see one of cinema's most compelling villains brought to life. Point 6, Darth Sidious versus the Jedi. Christ, that guy was sitting on that for a long time, and he really desperately wanted to reveal who he was, I think, and this was his crowning moment. A number of Jedi, I think it was 4 Jedi sent in to dispatch Senator Palpatine Chancellor Palpatine before he became the Emperor, and Christ were they outmatched. I don't really know why he found it so easy to take out the first 3 and then struggle so much with Mace. It seemed to be a one-sided battle. Perhaps there was some production limitations. I know Ian McDiarmid had trouble with some of the sword fighting choreography. Maybe they wanted to scale it down to get it to a more convincing one-on-one duel rather than a a huge elaborate Duel of the Fates style fight scene for him to try and negotiate. But I liked it. I like his acrobatics, and I like how quickly he lost it, and he revealed just how insane he really was. Point 5, Order 66. Oh, I wonder. I did try with putting this higher up in the list, but Order 66, that really came out of nowhere. We all knew the Jedi would need to be wiped out at some point. Looking at the origins of the story and seeing how Yoda and Obi-Wan were the surviving Jedi in the original trilogy, it stood to reason that most of these numbers were going to get wasted at some point. I just assumed that was going to be Vader and his Jedi purge, but instead it was a massive betrayal on the part of the clones, triggered by Sidious offering that Order 66. Quite breathtaking. Okay, point 4, Anakin versus Dooku. There's quite a few duels in this movie, and I really like this one. This one, I think, needs to get special mention because it really does riff on the original trilogy quite a bit. You've got the duel between the Sith Lord and the hero Jedi taking place in a spire on a spacecraft. The spire obviously meant to represent the Jedi spire at the temple and the Emperor spire on the second Death Star. Well, this is where Anakin faces Dooku the way he would later face his own son Luke in Return of the Jedi. And sitting in the wings, watching on, jeering and cheering, is Palpatine. You can see everything at work here, and you can see an alternate path that Luke could have taken if he'd have been as weak as his father and given into the hate and slaughtered his opponent. His fate would have been somewhat different. I really like the echoes. If you know anything about the Star Wars ring theory, you'll know that there's a lot of rhythms that are repeated in Star Wars storytelling, and this is one of them. And this is one I think that really works. It's very apparent that this was planned intentionally. The fates of these two Skywalker characters mirrored right up until a crucial decision is made. Point 3, it's a very small moment, nice character moment. It's Anakin laying wounded on Mustafar after his duel with Obi-Wan. He's left with just one mechanical hand, and as he catches fire, he just screams, "I hate you," at Obi-Wan. His eyes are all glowing, and it's just as Obi-Wan has told Anakin he thought of him as a brother, that he loved him. It underpins the betrayal of a character falling into evil the way Anakin has done, and that final spit of hatred really does show what was inside Anakin all along, I think. Okay, number 2, getting there now. Anakin versus Obi-Wan. Probably the actual duel of the fates here. Anakin fighting for every fibre in his body to try and do what he thinks is right, to try and secure Padme's fate by selling his soul to the devil, essentially. And Obi-Wan's duel, not just to survive, but to try and pull his friend back from the darkness of that abyss he's so willingly entering. It is a stunning duel, not just for the physical choreography, the stunt work, the cinematography, the special effects, but what it really symbolises, that battle to save somebody's soul. It is the pinnacle of the prequel trilogy. Okay, number 1, favourite part of the movie, the opening part of the movie. I believe the special effects scene is called the waterfall scene. It's the low orbit battle over Coruscant with the two Jedi starfighters screaming into this battle, trying desperately to make their way to Grievous's warship. It's just full on. There's so much going on in those scenes. It's beautifully made. Really, really exciting stuff. It's got a great score. The soundtrack, the beating of those drums all the way through that, the rhythmic pounding all the way through that scene is just staggering. And to think that that's the first thing we saw when that film opened, how exciting. 10 years on, it's still a stunning scene. I love it. High point, absolute high point for the prequel trilogy, I think, is the climax of this Clone War. So that's my top 10 points from Revenge of the Sith to celebrate its 10th birthday. Be very interested in hearing your thoughts. What are your favourite parts of the prequel trilogy, not just Revenge of the Sith? Leave them in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter. Don't forget to vote for Kyle Newman to direct one of these anthology movies. There's a link in the descriptions next to vote for Kyle. Just click on that and send the resulting tweet. We'll be back, episode 4. I'm probably going to talk about 2 characters that may or may not be appearing in future Star Wars movies. Don't forget to click subscribe and share.